On the night I sealed the biggest business deal of my career, I got the call that would shatter everything I thought I knew about family. My name is Rachel, I'm 33 years old, and for the past decade, I've been building my investment firm from scratch. What started as a desperate attempt to survive in a crowded city had turned into something real, profitable, respectable, and, most importantly, mine. That night, I was in New York, finalizing a contract worth millions. For the first time in years, I felt like I was no longer running after success, it was finally within my grasp. I remember standing in the hotel lobby, the lights glittering above me, my reflection in the polished marble floor almost unrecognizable. Confident. Secure. I thought my life was finally falling into place. Business was booming, I had just secured international partners, and my parents, at least, that's what I believed, were proud of me. Or so I thought. But family has a way of turning triumph into tragedy. You see, my mother has always been complicated. Elegant, manipulative, always playing the role of the perfect wife and mother in front of others. But beneath that polished smile was a woman who could twist the truth until even she believed her own lies. She had a way of making my victories seem like her sacrifices, as if I owed every breath of success to her. Still, she was my mother. And no matter how cold her words sometimes felt, I wanted her approval. I craved it like a child begging for scraps at the dinner table. That night, as I poured myself a glass of champagne, my phone buzzed. Her name lit up the screen, Mom. I almost didn't answer, I wanted to celebrate, just for one night, without her shadow. But something in me, that deep, instinctive need for her validation made me swipe the green button. Her voice was frantic, trembling, almost unrecognizable. "Rachel, it's Grandpa?" she cried. He collapsed. "It's bad. You need to come home. Now." My chest tightened. My grandfather was the only one in that family who had ever truly believed in me. When I was broke, he slipped me money to keep my office lights on. When Mom mocked my dreams, he whispered, "Don't listen. You're stronger than her. Losing him would break me." Without thinking twice, I dropped everything, the contract, the champagne, the glowing future, and booked the next flight home. I didn't even pack properly, I just grabbed my laptop and a few clothes. My mind raced with images of him lying in a hospital bed, maybe calling for me, maybe slipping away without a chance to say goodbye. By the time my plane touched down, it was nearly dawn. My heart pounded as I rushed through the hospital doors, scanning every corner for his frail frame. But when I asked the nurse about Jonathan Miller, she frowned. "There's no patient by that name here." At first, I thought I had misheard. My hands shook as I called my mom. She didn't answer. I called again. Still nothing. The dread rising in my throat was unbearable, until my phone buzzed with a text. It was from her. Just 2 words. "Come home." Confused, I took a taxi straight to my parents' mansion. The curtains were drawn, the lights low, but I could see shadows moving inside. My stomach churned. When I stepped through the door, the first thing I noticed wasn't the sound of sobbing or worry, it was laughter. There, in the living room, my mom sat with a glass of wine in hand, relaxed, glowing as if she had just won a prize. My father sat beside her, silent, his expression unreadable. And Grandpa? He wasn't in a hospital bed. He was sitting in his armchair, confused, alive, and very much fine. I froze. What the hell is going on? My voice cracked. Mom turned to me slowly, a smile tugging at her lips, not of relief, not of joy, but of triumph. "Oh, Rachel," she said softly, like I was the child again. "You're home. Perfect." That was the moment the ground beneath me began to crumble. I didn't know it yet, but she had just set her trap. A trap worth $5 million. And I was walking right into it. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept replaying Mom's voice over the phone, the fake sobs, the urgency in her tone. Rachel, your grandfather collapsed. We need money right away. Every word, every pause, now sounded rehearsed, almost theatrical. I woke up early the next morning, staring at the city skyline outside my hotel window. The business trip that was supposed to bring me clarity about my career had turned into a storm I never saw coming. When I called Grandpa's landline again, a nurse picked up this time. She politely explained that Grandpa was fine, resting, and had been walking around the garden just yesterday. My stomach dropped. So it was true. Mom had lied. But the bigger question was why? Why fake something so serious, something so cruel? My heart pounded, but anger started to replace confusion. Later that day, I returned to the office for my meetings. Still, I couldn't focus. At lunch, I stepped outside to breathe, scrolling through my messages. That's when I noticed something chilling, a transfer notification from my joint account. $5 million. Gone. My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped the phone. It wasn't just a little emergency money. It was everything I had saved, everything Dad had left behind, everything I had been working for. And Mom had taken it, without even asking. That evening, I confronted her on a video call. Mom, I said, trying to stay calm. I spoke to the nurse. Grandpa is fine. Why did you tell me he collapsed? For a split second, her face stiffened. Then she laughed softly, as if I were a child who had caught her sneaking cookies before dinner. Oh, Rachel, don't be dramatic. I just needed the money for urgent matters. You wouldn't understand. It's family business. Family business? I snapped. You stole $5 million from me. Do you realize what you've done? Her tone shifted, cold, sharp. You should be grateful, Rachel. Everything you own, everything you are, comes from us. From me. Don't act like you're some self-made woman. That money is still family money. My blood boiled. No, Mom. That money was Dad's last gift to me. And you used Grandpa's name, your own father's health, as a lie to take it. Do you even hear yourself? Her smile didn't fade. Instead, she leaned closer to the camera. One day, you'll understand that family loyalty means sacrifice. If you can't, then maybe you don't belong in this family at all. She ended the call. Just like that. The next morning, I flew back home earlier than planned. My chest tightened the moment I stepped into the family mansion. The air felt heavier than I remembered, as if the walls themselves had absorbed decades of secrets and lies. Mom greeted me with that same polished smile, the smile she used for charity galas and family portraits. Rachel, darling, you're back sooner than expected. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked past her into the study, where Dad's old books still lined the shelves. The scent of leather and dust comforted me, but also reminded me of what I'd lost. I turned to her. Where is the money, Mom? She sighed, almost bored. Gone. Invested. Don't worry about it. Don't worry? I snapped. That was $5 million. You lied about Grandpa. You tricked me, your own daughter. And you expect me to just stay quiet? Her eyes narrowed. You're naive, Rachel. Money doesn't stay in vaults, it moves. It grows. I did what was necessary. You should thank me. Thank her? My fists clenched so tight, my nails dug into my palms. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, replaying her words. My heart screamed for justice, but my mind whispered something else, Grandpa's secret. Years ago, he had called me to his study. I was only 20 then, fresh out of college, and he'd looked me straight in the eyes. Rachel, he had said, his voice raspy but steady, your parents don't understand value. They chase appearances, luxury, status. But you care about meaning. About people. That's why I trust you. Then he'd shown me a locked drawer inside his desk, hidden behind rows of financial ledgers. Inside was a sealed envelope with my name on it. Don't open this yet, he warned. When the time comes, you'll know. I never forgot his words. So now, in the silence of my own room, I retrieved that envelope from my suitcase where I had hidden it years ago. My hands shook as I tore it open. Inside was a letter. Grandpa's handwriting sprawled across the page, strong and confident. Rachel, if you're reading this, it means the family has chosen deception over loyalty. Enclosed is my private addendum to the will. Everything, not just the estate, but the businesses, the offshore accounts, the real wealth, will pass to you, provided you act with integrity. Your parents do not know this. Do not reveal it until the right moment. They will test you. But remember, true power belongs to the one who waits. My breath caught in my throat. My pulse thundered in my ears. He had trusted me. Me alone. Mom thought she had won by stealing $5 million. She had no idea that Grandpa had set everything up differently, that he had already chosen his successor. The next day, I arranged a private visit to Grandpa at his countryside estate. When I arrived, he was sitting under the old oak tree, a blanket draped across his legs. His eyes lit up when he saw me. Rachel, my girl. I hugged him tightly, my throat burning with unshed tears. Grandpa. She took everything. Mom lied about you, and she drained my account. $5 million, gone. His expression hardened, deep lines carving into his face. I feared this day would come. Your mother has grown greedy, reckless. But remember what I told you, don't rush. Let her believe she has control. The truth will break her faster than anger ever could. I showed him the letter. His gaze softened with pride. You are ready. But wait until the gathering next month. When the whole family is present. That is when the truth must come out. For the next few weeks, I kept silent. I smiled at Mom at dinners, nodded politely when she boasted about her investments, and pretended to be defeated. But inside, I was sharpening my blade. I gathered bank statements, proof of the unauthorized transfers, and quietly aligned myself with Grandpa's trusted lawyer. I built my case in secret, brick by brick. Meanwhile, Mom flaunted her supposed victory. She bought a new luxury car, hosted extravagant parties, and bragged to her friends about her business genius. It was almost pathetic, watching her dig her own grave, all while thinking she was untouchable. Finally, the day of the family gathering arrived. The mansion buzzed with chatter, crystal glasses clinking, servants rushing to and fro. My sister, Melissa, floated through the crowd in a designer gown, oblivious as always. Dad stayed in the corner, sipping whiskey, detached from it all. And Mom. She was the queen of the night, glowing in diamonds, basking in admiration. Then, Grandpa arrived. Everyone hushed as he entered, leaning on his cane but radiating authority. I have an announcement, he declared, his voice commanding silence. It concerns the future of this family. My heart pounded as he gestured for me to step forward. Rachel, he said, read it. The room froze. I unfolded the addendum to his will, my voice steady but sharp. It was all there, every detail. Every asset, every business, every hidden fortune, entrusted to me. Not my mother. Not my father. Not Melissa. Me. Gasps echoed through the hall. Faces turned pale. Mom's smile shattered. What is this nonsense? She hissed, her voice shaking. Grandpa's eyes blazed. It is my will. My decision. And my judgment. I looked straight at her, my voice cold as steel. You stole from me, Mom. You lied about Grandpa's health, and you drained my savings. But what you didn't know, what you'll never undo, is that Grandpa saw through you long ago. And now, everything you thought you controlled is mine." Her glass slipped from her hand, shattering across the marble floor. For once in her life, she had no words. And in that silence, I felt it. The beginning of justice. The silence after Grandpa's declaration was suffocating. I could feel every eye on me, heavy with shock, envy, and disbelief. My mother's face, usually so composed, was cracked open with rage. "This is ridiculous," she screamed, her voice shaking. "I'm his daughter. His blood. And you," she jabbed her manicured finger at me, "you're just a child who knows nothing about responsibility." Grandpa's cane struck the marble floor with a loud crack. "Enough." His voice was thunder. "Rachel has shown me something none of you ever did: integrity. Loyalty. She will carry this family's legacy, not you." Gasps rippled through the crowd again. My father looked down into his glass, avoiding everyone's gaze. Melissa, my sister, scoffed under her breath but said nothing, too afraid of being dragged into the storm. And me? For the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt powerful. After the gathering ended, Mom cornered me in the hallway. Her eyes were wild, mascara smudged like war paint. "You think you've won, don't you?" she hissed. "Don't get too comfortable. Paper doesn't mean power. Money moves in silence, and I've already positioned myself where you can't touch me." I smiled, calm, almost pitying her. "You're right about one thing, Mom. Money moves in silence. And while you were busy flaunting yours, I was busy collecting evidence." Her face went pale. "What evidence?" I leaned closer, my voice a whisper meant to cut. "The transfers. The lies. The fraud. You didn't just steal from me, you committed crimes. And tomorrow morning, everyone will know." For the first time in my life, I watched fear flicker in her eyes. That night, I stayed up preparing. My laptop glowed in the darkness as I compiled every statement, every bank record, every screenshot of her fraudulent activities. Grandpa's lawyer had already confirmed it: my mother was guilty of embezzlement and financial manipulation. I didn't want just revenge, I wanted a spectacle. If she had humiliated me in front of the family, then I would destroy her in front of the world. The next morning, the plan unfolded. I released an anonymous dossier to several business journals and financial watchdogs. The headline spread like wildfire. "Socialite linked to multi-million-dollar fraud scheme." Photos of my mother, smiling at charity events, clinking glasses at galas, were plastered next to damning evidence of her crimes. Screenshots of transfers, proof of forged documents, and even her signature on illegal withdrawals. By noon, her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters camped outside the gates. Friends stopped answering her calls. Overnight, her empire of reputation crumbled into ashes. And I watched it all unfold with a calm satisfaction I had never known. At dinner that evening, the atmosphere was suffocating. Dad sat stiffly at the head of the table, his face ashen. Melissa picked at her food in silence. And Mom. She was broken. Her phone lay on the table, buzzing every few seconds with notifications she refused to check. Her diamond necklace suddenly looked like a noose around her neck. Finally, she slammed her fork down. "Did you do this, Rachel?" Her voice trembled, not with anger, but desperation. I met her gaze. "Yes." The room froze. Even Dad looked up, startled. Her lips parted, as if she wanted to curse me, but nothing came out. Her power was gone. Her shield, status, wealth, influence, was stripped away. "You wanted to teach me about the real world?" I said softly. "Well, welcome to it. Actions have consequences. Even for you." Days turned into weeks. Investigations deepened. Authorities began freezing her accounts. Her so-called friends abandoned her, terrified of being tainted by association. The woman who once walked into every room like a queen was now treated like a pariah. And me? I rose. Grandpa made it official, transferring the businesses and assets under my management. With his lawyer by my side, I began restructuring everything, cutting off the dead weight, and ensuring every cent was accounted for. It wasn't easy. Some board members resisted. Old allies of my mother tried to undermine me. But unlike her, I didn't fight with vanity. I fought with proof, strategy, and patience. And slowly, the tide turned. One evening, I walked into Grandpa's study, where he sat reading by the fire. He looked up and smiled, a mixture of pride and relief in his eyes. "You handled it better than I expected," he said. I sat across from him, exhaustion tugging at my bones but fire still burning in my chest. "She tried to destroy me, Grandpa. But in the end, she destroyed herself." He nodded. "That's the irony of greed. It consumes the one who wields it." I thought of Mom, alone in her room, curtains drawn, drowning in disgrace. A part of me pitied her. But another part remembered the night she looked me in the eye and said, "Don't worry about it." She had stolen not just money, but trust. And trust, once broken, can never be repaired. But even as justice settled, I knew this wasn't the end. Power had shifted, yes. I was no longer the helpless daughter. I was the heir. The one in control. But power attracts enemies. And already, whispers reached my ears, relatives, business rivals, even Melissa, plotting their next moves, circling like vultures. Grandpa had warned me, "They will test you." And I realized he was right. My battle with Mom was only the beginning. Because in a family like mine, betrayal wasn't an exception. It was tradition. Weeks passed, and with each day, the old balance of power in our family shifted further. What once belonged to my mother, her businesses, her influence, her spotless reputation, was gone. The world no longer praised her, it condemned her. And me? I was stepping into shoes I never thought I'd wear. Meetings, contracts, strategies. Suddenly, I was no longer just Rachel, the daughter. I was Rachel, the heir. But power was a dangerous crown. And it never sat lightly. One evening, Melissa barged into my office, slamming the door behind her. Her eyes burned with fury. "Do you enjoy this? Watching Mom fall apart while you play queen?" I set my pen down and looked at her calmly. "She brought this on herself. You know that as well as I do." Melissa laughed bitterly. "No, Rachel? You think you're the savior, but you're just like her. You used humiliation as your weapon. You didn't save this family, you destroyed it." Her words stung more than I wanted to admit. Was I becoming like Mom? Cold. Ruthless. Strategic. But before I could answer, Melissa leaned closer, her voice sharp as a blade. "You should watch your back. You may have beaten Mom, but you won't beat me." And with that, she stormed out, leaving me with a chill crawling down my spine. The following week, whispers spread through the company. Board members hesitated. Clients backed away from contracts. Something was wrong. Then it hit me, someone was sabotaging me from the inside. Documents went missing. My emails were leaked. Even private conversations with Grandpa's lawyer somehow reached the press. It didn't take long to discover the source. Melissa. She wasn't just angry, she was retaliating. And unlike Mom, she wasn't reckless. She was methodical. One night, Grandpa called me into his study. His expression was grave. "Rachel, you must understand," he said. "Melissa isn't your enemy out of hate. She's your enemy out of hunger. She's always felt overlooked. Ignored. Your mother fueled that bitterness for years. Now she's turning it against you." I clenched my fists. So what do I do? Fight her? Expose her like I did with Mom? Grandpa shook his head. No. A war between you two will tear this family apart completely. You must outthink her. Not with force, but with foresight. His words echoed in my mind long after I left the room. Days later, Melissa confronted me again. This time, not with anger, but with a smirk. Funny, isn't it? She said, tossing a folder on my desk. You're supposed to be in control, yet the company's stock is plummeting. Investors are fleeing. All thanks to leaks. I opened the folder. Inside were confidential memos, twisted to make me look incompetent. If these went public, my credibility would shatter. Melissa leaned in, her voice dripping with poison. Step down, Rachel. Hand everything back. Or I'll make sure you lose it all, just like Mom. For a moment, fear surged inside me. She had played her cards well. But then, I smiled. Funny you should say that, Melissa. Because those memos? I slid a different folder across the desk. I planted them. To see who would leak them. And guess what? The trail leads straight back to you. Her face drained of color. You're bluffing. I shook my head. Grandpa's lawyer already has the proof. Every email, every transfer, every leak, you orchestrated it. And unlike Mom, you don't have her money to shield you. Melissa's confidence shattered in an instant. She staggered back, trembling. You set me up. No, I corrected softly. I gave you a choice. You chose betrayal. Again. The fallout was swift. Melissa was removed from all business dealings, her access revoked. Grandpa, heartbroken, decided to send her abroad with a modest allowance, cutting her out of the empire entirely. When the decision was announced, Melissa glared at me one last time. You may have won, Rachel. But mark my words, you'll die alone, just like her. And then she was gone. That night, I sat alone in my room, staring at the city lights through the window. Victory tasted bittersweet. Yes, I had saved the family business. Yes, I had protected Grandpa's legacy. But at what cost? My mother hated me. My sister despised me. And even my father, quiet, spineless as ever, looked at me now with both fear and resentment. Grandpa's words echoed again, power consumes, Rachel. It will cost you more than you know. Weeks later, I found myself at a charity gala, standing on the very stage where my mother once commanded attention. Cameras flashed. Applause filled the room. I was the new face of the family legacy. But as I looked out into the crowd, a chilling realization struck me. This wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of a cycle. Mom had betrayed. Melissa had betrayed. And somewhere, among those smiling faces in the audience, someone else was waiting, plotting their move against me. Because in this family, love was temporary. But betrayal? Betrayal was forever.